Hi everyone, my name is Alicia and we are now going live with one of our judges, with Rayyanom Lanteinom. So it's a pleasure for us to start this conversation and to start this series of episodes with we're gonna start with our judge. So let's go and live with Ryan. It's been a while. Yeah? Hi.
Hi, Alicia.
Nice to meet you. Anyway, nice to see you. Nice to meet you again. After 1 year of this pandemic situation, it's like
It's
to
been a
meet you
while.
again. Yeah, it's been a while. How are you meanwhile?
I'm very well. How are you? You're looking great.
Thank you. We are good. We are all preparing for FIA IDC, and I think that we are a little bit nervous, but anyway, I think it's gonna be okay. So meanwhile, how is everything going in Canada right now?
Well, everything's going well. The weather's getting better, so people are a little bit happier, but we're still kind of locked down a little bit. I think a lot of people are looking forward to events like this that they can distract themselves with.
Okay. How was this year for you? What was interesting, or it was just like, a little bit calm?
Well, we managed to get 8 rounds of Formula Drift within 4 different events. So we had to modify things a little bit, but we still were able to put on a full series. So that was exciting. We had to change the schedule up, of course, but we're looking forward to starting round 1 of Formula Drift at Road Atlanta next month. And it looks like we're going to have a pretty decent season. And then we're all looking forward to the FIA IDC, of course.
Yeah, we're looking forward for it also. So anyway, let's introduce you to all our viewers. It's Rayyanom Lanteinom from Canada, one of our judges. Anyway, if you wanna to introduce your colleagues, you can do it, but let's do it a little bit later, okay?
Sure.
So we collected some questions from our followers. They're gonna know more about you. So let's start with your history in drifting. What was your story in drifting?
Well, I started in drifting in 2004 in Canada. A friend of mine started a series called the Driftmania Canadian Championships, and I worked with him for probably 4 years. No, 3 years, and then I started drifting myself to do ride-alongs for people that won a ride in my car at every drift event. So that's where I got my start in kind of driving in front of other people. And it was for Yokohama Tire at the time. And I was giving rides. I had a Skyline R32 back in 2007. And I was giving people rides in my car. And BF Goodrich Canada was there watching the event. And they said, who's that guy in the Skyline giving rides in the cars? He's doing better than some of the competitors in the series. So I was very lucky. They said, Ryan, would you like to compete with us next season? And that's how my story started. I went from working for the series to doing demo laps and then kind of getting discovered. And then I went and competed in the series myself. I did that for a few years and I lost my sponsorship. I'm sure a lot of people understand how that can happen. And I was asked to become a judge in 2010. And I started judging in Canada, and then I moved down to the US to judge with Formula Drift. And I've been doing it with Formula Drift since 2011 now.
Wow, it's been like 11 years of your judging career?
It has been, yeah. I've been pretty fortunate, I think, to be in this position when I was in the right place at the right time. So it's been really interesting, and now I get to judge events like the FIA IDC.
So how you would describe a drifting judge job? Like what kind of person you should be to be a drifting judge?
Well, first and foremost, I think you need to be a little detached emotionally. You can't be attached to one specific driver or one specific tire brand or have a favorite car or something like that. You really have to be objective when you're up there on the judging tower And you have to be able to disconnect yourself from those emotions and just look at the facts. And that's something that I think even legal judges have to do as well. People that are, you know, judges in the real world. And we have to
judges in the real world.
In the real world, because we're.
That sounds funny.
It does, yeah. Because we're, you know, judging is an amazing sport. It's fun, it's exciting, it's fast, but it's just that. It's a sport. It's something that we all enjoy watching and being a part of. But you know, real judges have the real job. But I take a lot of what they do and how they apply their, I guess, their personalities and everything to their job. And you really have to be disconnected in that way. And you have to be fair and you have to be honest. And I think that communicating with the fans and the drivers is the most important part, because the drivers and the fans have their own ideas of how things should work. They have their own maybe favorite drivers, or they have their favorite cars, or whatever it might be out there. But they will understand your decisions if you're able to really verbalize the reason why you made the call that you made. And if a judge can do that in the right way, they can convince even the most hardcore fan of a specific driver that, yeah, maybe their driver did make a mistake and didn't deserve to win. But I think it's all about the communication, you know, being able to really verbalize that and get that information out.
Was it hard for you to be separated from the drivers, from like to have your own opinion, like, you know, not to be involved in different like friendship or something like this? How long did it take you to be so straight judge?
Well, I think I have a great advantage in that. Take music, for example. Some people absolutely love one specific singer and they'll listen to their whole album. They love every song.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. I have specific songs that I like. And maybe I hate one whole album by an artist except one song. And I don't get attached in that way to specifics. So if I am sitting up in the judging tower, I'm not emotionally invested in one driver's career or their day at the track. I look for the one good run, you know, between two drivers. Who did the best job? And I'm just fortunate in that I can disconnect in that way and not have a favorite and not be so attached to the results. I often, after an event, forget the results of the event because I'm not paying attention to the specific drivers. I'm just looking at the runs and I'm looking at what's happening on the track. So, you know, people come up to me after an event and they say, hey, that battle between those two drivers, I can't even tell you who specifically won because I was that, you know, I wasn't invested in or really interested in the drivers per se. I was more interested in the performance on the track. And that, I think, is something that's important, but it's not something that everybody has within them probably.
Okay, thank you. So, as you can see, most of the comments here in chat are in Russian, you know. So, we say hello to all our Russian fans. Ребята, мы все читаем по-русски, но это англоязычный аккаунт, поэтому учите английский язык или ждите перевод, который у нас совсем скоро выйдет на нашем YouTube-канале. Also, there are a lot of Brazilian guys, so Ola, you can speak Portuguese also, yeah?
Oh, well, not really. I can tell all my Brazilian people, Tamu Junto, and they're all going to love that. Yeah.
Okay, and ciao, Italy, we also can see you. So, quick advice for a new drifting judge. For example, for a person who wants to be a drifting judge, so some quick advices for this kind of person.
I would say that a new judge needs to watch a lot of drifting. It's
different, you mean, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of different series, a lot of different drivers, a lot of different situations as well, because you can't be surprised when you're up on the judging stand by a new situation. You have to have a lot of experience. So, you know, if you're not experienced as a judge, you can be experienced as a fan. The more educated you are about the rules, the regulations, the way an event works and functions, the better prepared you're going to be for the job. And when you see a lot of different battles and a lot of different outcomes from different battles, you'll be able to understand why those calls were made. And then from that point on, you can establish how you would make those calls and sort of be prepared when those situations arise for you as a judge. Yeah.
What was your favorite series to watch? Like, I mean, drifting series to watch before you started your career as a judge, or while you started at the beginning? What was your favorite series to watch?
Well, I used to go to FDUS. When I lived in Canada, I used to make the trip down to the States on my own. I would go, I've been to, I think, Irwindale, Seattle, and Atlanta on my own, you know, before I was ever a judge. I was a competitor myself in Canada. And I thought, I need to go see how they're doing things in the US. I want to see this live. I want to see it in person. So I think Formula Drift was really the one that set the bar for me. And this is going back to 2006, 7, you know, there wasn't the live streams that we have today. So all you could do is maybe go on YouTube and find footage a week after the event. So for me, going to the live Formula Drift events is what really set my expectations really high and made me realize that the competition level in the US was so high even then, you know, compared to everything else that was going on. If you look back at that driving today, it doesn't look that great. But at the time, that driving was the best in the world. You know, there was nothing that compared to it on an organizational side. Of course, in Japan, D1, the drivers were phenomenal. And they were doing things a little bit differently, and they always have. So I didn't really have that connection with D1 because it wasn't easy to get live footage, or you know, the footage was delayed a little bit. So going to a Formula Drift event, I think, is what really set the bar for me.
But you know, I think, on my opinion, to be a good judge, it means to have a good memory. You have to memorize all the details, you know, to compare then the drivers. So how do you train your memory? Do you have some special, like, exercises? I don't know. Pills, maybe?
No, I generally have a terrible memory. And when I say, when people come up to me after an event and ask me questions about the event that we just watched, I don't have a memory at all for that. But situations that have happened over the years, let's say a really important battle that happened, something that was really spectacular and that a lot of people were asking questions about, and maybe it caused some controversy, that is something that's going to stick in your mind. And it's a lot easier today because of the internet that records everything. People make individual little videos about everything, and you can go back and watch those really quickly and easily. Whereas in the beginning of all of this, it was a lot harder. You had to either keep notes, which I did for a while, but it's hard to go back. Well, I don't do it as much now. I record a lot of the scores because we need to be able to have a backup, because we put all of our scores in online on a tablet. But we need to have a backup for that in case something happens to the system or it wasn't recorded. And it's also good because I can show the drivers after an event, here, this is your score from your qualifying runs, and this is why you got the certain score. So after that, tandem battles, I do a lot of talking during the event, and I don't have a lot of time to generally sit down and write all my notes out. So the fact that I'm talking a lot on the live stream means I can go back on the live stream footage when it's uploaded to YouTube, and I can listen to my comments at the time and understand where my mind was at that point in time. It helps a lot.
That sounds, you know, that sounds funny. Like, I'm listening to my comments and I understand where my mind was. Yeah, that's funny, you know. But anyway, I think it's good advice, like, to even not to pay a lot of attention for what is going on, but to take the situation in generally. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, a big part of judging tandem drifting is that you don't want to have any other outside previous events to kind of cloud your judgment, right? You want to be looking at the battle that's in front of you and just analyzing, because it's comparative. We're not asking driver in the chase position to run a better line than what the lead driver is doing at all. We're asking the chase driver to mimic the lead driver. So all we need to know at that moment in time is the lead driver doing what they're asked to do? Are they on the right line? And then how well is that chase driver mimicking what the lead driver is doing?
Okay,
so you're really, we're working in a bubble here where each battle is its own bubble. Once that bubble is passed, you move to the next bubble and you're judging only that bubble. You just see how those two compare to one another. So having a memory about the rules and regulations is very important. That's something you need to be aware of and know. And you also need to know where the boundaries of the track are and what specific important areas of the track were pointed out in the briefing that the drivers need to adhere to during each battle as well. So if you can remember all of those things, you can judge every little bubble of a tandem battle very efficiently and without any kind of influence from the outside or a previous battle or anything like that. So that's a good point that you bring up.
You know, that's a very good parallel to compare this with the bubble. I have never thought about it from this point of view, but maybe it's gonna help me also. So, wow, you're so you're giving so nice advices, you know. So thank you so much. Like, you are the one of the most experienced judge in drifting. So, what are the most important thing, or maybe things? What are the most important things that you learned from the drifting from all these years?
Well, I think that keeping your emotions out of anything that you do professionally is very important. And having dealt with drivers all over the world during an event, after an event, you can understand how a driver will be very emotional if they lost or if they won, but generally they only come to you if they lost because they have questions about what they did wrong, what caused them to lose. And when they come to talk to you, they are very emotional because
absolutely,
yeah, for a judge, you know, if I fly to Russia to judge an event, I got on a plane, I spent 12 to 15 hours flying there, but my investment was pretty low, just some time to get there, that's it. But if you look at what a driver had to invest to get to that point, financial, they had to take time off work, they have a lot of friends that are helping them, a lot of time, a lot of energy to build the car, to fix the car, to get the car there, sponsorships, they are investing.
They're responsible. They're responsible for everything. Yeah, that's why they're getting emotional.
Exactly. They have a lot of pressure on them from a lot of different angles. And when they maybe don't win a battle, they are very emotional. So it's my job to be as factual as possible. I have to stay level-headed and not let any of their emotions affect me so that I get emotional in response. I think that's very, very important to maintain a good relationship with everybody in the series and understand that they are using their emotions as best they can, but their emotions are kind of controlling them at that point in time, and not to take everything so personally from them at that point in time. And often drivers that are very emotional will come back later and apologize is the wrong word. They just want to say that they understand, they appreciate the time and effort that we put in. And they usually say, you know, I didn't mean to get so emotional, but I can't help it. And that's okay. It's understandable. And the other important thing is, if somebody is very emotional with you, you know, a driver is very emotional with the judge has to disconnect from that and not bring it forward to the next event and say, oh, that driver was really emotional and yelled at me the last time, I'm going to give him a bad score. You can't do that at all. So you have to really disconnect in that way. And that is a key to being a good judge and being, you know, available and able to go do these different events around the world. People have to see that you're able to handle that and function within that kind of stress, I suppose you could say.
That's a very good point, not to take it and to bring it to another round or something like this. So there are a few thanks God English speaking spectators of our live streaming. So the guy whose name is Richard is answering asking a question: how come there are often different choices between judges in choosing the tandem winner. So I mean, if I think he meant if you have different opinion about the winner, so how you get to one point
Well,
through
I get what,
the
yeah,
blood
I
and
get what,
fighting?
well, I get what he's saying, because sometimes there are three judges and sometimes it's split three ways. Judge A says driver A, Judge B says driver B, Judge C says one more time. So we're completely split. Nobody can agree.
Okay.
And in that sense, I there's a reason why we have three judges, is for this very, very reason, so that it's not one person's opinion up there. Second of all, if it's split three ways like that, then the judge that said one more time was probably the right judge, right? I'm not saying he's absolutely right, but if you
He
look
is
at that,
safe judge, you know, he
yeah,
saved his life
in that
from the
situation,
emotional
yeah, he said one
drivers.
more time. So that
Yeah.
means that Judge A and, the two judges that chose driver A and B, maybe they were on the fence, maybe it was close to one more time. But just like all the fans have their own ideas and their own interpretations of the rules, sometimes the judges can also have some slight variations in how they look at the rules. And now that is something that we generally point out in the driver briefing. We'll say, Judge A is judging line this round. He's putting
Yeah.
more emphasis on this. Judge B is doing angle. He's putting more emphasis on this. And when the three judges are discussing an event beforehand, we can sometimes have a difference of opinion slightly. We understand that the drivers have to be within the confines of the track. They need to hit all the, get to the inside clipping points, fill the zones. But sometimes opinions can differ slightly in whether or not a mistake is going to be taken more seriously than another mistake. And one judge might think, yeah, that mistake should be taken very seriously. And the other judge might think it's not as serious as you. So that's where some differences come in. And in the end, having three judges really makes things as fair as possible and gives us the best blend of three opinions. Sometimes we all agree on a call. Sometimes we're completely split. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's two judges to one. So yeah, there can be some slight differences, but just like all the fans have differences of opinions, sometimes the judges can as well. But three judges keeps it fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's go back to the questions in the comments. How to judge a lot of drivers who came from different parts of the earth with so different driving styles at the same time? Yeah, it's gonna be like the question also about different drifting styles, but how to judge these kind of drivers?
That's where a really good driver briefing is the most important thing that you can do for an event. In the driver briefing, you're going to set expectations. You're going to tell
Yeah.
all the drivers
Yeah.
what exactly the judges want to see from them on the track. Now, different styles, for example, initiation. There are many different ways to get a car initiated. Even in Formula Drift, we often have a big debate about, should it be a handbrake entry with a straight line? Should it be a flick with just throttle? Should it be a flick with throttle and then handbrake? And all of those things are not so important to the judges as how smooth was the initiation, how quick was the rotation, how aggressive was it done, and how controlled was it. And we can take different styles, and we've been doing this for quite a few years now with so many drivers coming to Formula Drift in the first place, and now so many international drivers going to many different series, that a lot of drivers that are, let's say a local driver sees a new driver come from another country and bring a slightly different style. Drivers in that local series are going to start to adapt to this new style that came in, because they might say, oh, that style is a little bit better, or that style is interesting. It may give me an advantage. So the styles all over the world are blending so much now.
Yeah.
When you look at especially FIA IDC, the drivers that are coming from really all over the world to compete, they're bringing different cars, they're bringing different setups, they're bringing different styles, different driving backgrounds, and it's all blending together. And over the last I'd say really like 7 years. Let's look at Formula Drift because I'm most familiar with that. You know, we've had drivers from Japan coming. We've had drivers from Ireland. We've had drivers from Russia. We've had drivers from Brazil. We've had drivers from the Middle East coming over. So people coming from all over the world have been blending, let's say, all of those styles in Formula Drift. And then those drivers go back to their home countries, and then they bring styles that they may have learned from the US to them. And this has been going on for years now. And you're not really seeing anybody with a completely different style anymore because they're all blending so much, and they're all watching YouTube videos, and they're all really trying different things because they see different things from different parts of the world. So I think maybe 8 or 10 years ago, if a driver came from a different country into a new series, yes, there would have been a big challenge there. But now it's really homogeneous. You know, everything's kind of blended together, and it's there's still some, you know, outliers in that, but for the most part, everybody's adapted to what everybody else is doing now, I think.
Yeah. Can I ask you this question? Maybe it's hard to answer. What is your favorite style?
My favorite style. That's an interesting question. I tend to think that when I watch a driver that's really loose, and I mean that when the car is in a straight line going up to initiation, you can see the car moving around a little bit. And when they do a kind of an opposite drift before they initiate, so like a bit of a flick into the initiation, I think it looks really smooth. But it has to be done accurately. It has to be done smoothly, and it sometimes is only good on certain tracks. Now, some drivers say that that's hard to follow, it's hard to mimic, and other drivers say it's easier to follow and easier to mimic. So there's so many different opinions out there. But I just, you know, on a personal level, if I'm out driving myself, that's the kind of style that I try to do myself. But I think it's just more fun, you know, it's a little more playful.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, there is one more question. What do you think is the most beautiful hit ever during drift? I think that you have ever seen or you have ever judged. Yeah, Boo. It's about like this.
That's a good question. So I think one of the best tandems that we've watched that made everybody feel really good when we watched it was Jonathan Castro and James Dean in Florida. And this was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. And James Dean is, of course, a very confident, very capable driver who's very consistent as well. He does the same run over and over, and a chase driver knows that they can trust what he's doing. So Jonathan Castro in the chase position was like James Dean's shadow. He was amazing. And not only was it great to watch because of the great tandem, but because Jonathan Castro was such an underdog at that point of time. And he did such an amazing job that I had people that never really knew much about drifting telling me that was the best battle I've ever seen. And they just felt, you know, people around everybody around us, they all seemed sort of emotional about watching that, because it was a moment where you could see somebody who had struggled a little bit really put on an amazing performance, and you could tell he was doing everything in his, you know, everything he was capable of. So that, I think, was one of the best ones that we've watched, just for the success of what that chase driver was doing at that point in time. It was really great to watch. Yeah.
Also, he wrote you that, what is your favorite race? Barkovsky Dean. Do you remember this hit?
Which one was that?
Barkovsky Dean? I don't know. To tell you the truth.
No. Remember that I have a bad memory.
Okay. Now we got it. Okay. So guys, just remember that Ryan has a bad memory.
Yeah, the things that really stand out have to be phenomenal, and maybe that's a battle I should remember that I don't. I apologize.
Okay. guys, who is watching this live streaming now and speak Russia, пожалуйста, не пишите в комментариях, давайте перевод. Перевод будет совсем скоро. Я вам напоминаю, что это не RDS-GP, это FIA IDC канал. Спасибо вам, что вы смотрите, но тем не менее мы работаем здесь и на американскую, и на английскую аудиторию, тоже на англоговорящую аудиторию, поэтому я вам всем передаю русскоязычный привет и продолжаем смотреть на английском и практиковать свой английский заодно. Okay, it's like was my little offer to Russian to finally to start learning English, you know, because sometimes
I should be learning
helps,
Russian,
you know?
maybe.
Yeah, you should for sure. Okay, please tell us a little bit about this year judging system at the FIA IDC.
Yeah, so we're blending, we're always modifying the judging system. The judging system started with FIA IDC in 2017, being a blend of Formula Drift, Russian Drift Series. We had some of the Czech influence. We had Drift Masters. We had, and then we had a lot of D1 as well. Now, in the beginning, D1 was running the event, so there was DOS involved. But over the last few years, we've kind of pushed DOS out a little bit. And now what we're blending in is a lot of Formula Drift, Drift Masters, and RDS again. And we're, of course, we're doing qualifying as we normally would.
Yeah.
There's line angle style plus speed is thrown in there as well. And that's something that differs slightly in different series around the world. But it's deemed important for the FIA side of things. So we have speed involved in there as well. And something that's a little bit new this year is going to be the team drifting as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to have. We can have teams of 2 or 3 drivers.
Yeah.
And they're going to take the best scores, the top 2 scores for qualifying and the top 2 finishes in tandem.
Yep.
And there's a scoring system set up. So each position will get a different level of points, and you'll be able to accumulate those points and have a team competition as well as the individual competition. So if you've got a couple of strong teammates on one team, they have the chance of winning not only potentially the event, but also the team drifting as well.
That's nice. And they're going to have 2 cups maybe, like, you know, from the event.
Yeah.
And it's going to be nice. We have one of your colleague watching us now. Can you
really?
see him? Yeah? No?
Who is that?
No. It's David.
Oh, David.
David. Yeah, he has something like against your choice of the best best hit ever, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he's going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, because he's your colleague, you know.
Yeah, of course. I was going more on the emotion level and how everybody felt, and how close the drivers were. It wasn't the highest speed track, and it wasn't the most dramatic. But yeah, I'm sure David would have some arguments about that. For sure.
Yeah. So David, you're gonna have a chance to talk to me about your best hit. We're gonna have with you also this live streaming. So, what was the hardest part about being a judge at FIA IDC? Because you have also experienced, like, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years of judging FIA. 3 years in a row of judging FIA IDC. What was the hardest part for you?
I think the hardest part was trying to incorporate DOS into our judging system early on.
Yeah,
that was
I knew
really tough.
Be this.
I'm pretty honest with this stuff, and that was hard. It was a challenge to try to adapt that into our what we thought should be the right judging system for the FIA IDC. Now, it's not to say that it was wrong, it was just different, and it was a bit of a challenge, but now we've managed to use that type of speed scoring that they brought in, and we're adapting it with what we use in, let's say, Drift Masters or RDS, and we're blending that in. So I think that that challenge was a good challenge because it allowed us to get to where we are now. Yeah. So,
I think it wasn't just a challenge for for you as a judges, it was also a challenge for drivers to get used to this system, you know, because not everybody use this system.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was a challenge for the drivers. That system is one that you can learn how to not manipulate, but work around it a little bit.
Yeah.
And the drivers that had more experience with that system, I think, had an advantage at that time, because the ones that came in having never driven with DOS judging them had to figure it out during the event. And then by the time they figured it out, the event was over. So I think, it was a difficult one. And that's, like I said earlier, the driver briefings are so important for each individual driver to know exactly what it is that we're looking for as judges. But because that system, the DOS system, is so opaque, there's a lot about it that nobody really knows. We had a hard time explaining to the drivers exactly how they could win. So that was even tough for us. And that's where we are today, is it's so much better and so much more informative for the drivers, and so much easier to understand for the fans as well, because it's easy for us as judges to explain it to them. And I think that's really important. Yeah.
So this year is the first year when FIA IDC is moving to Europe. Yeah. It's going to be the first year when it's not on the motherland of drifting. It's going to be in Latvia. What can you say about the Kanieki track? How I heard that you told that it's hard and dangerous track. Yeah.
Yes.
So
it is.
What can you say us about the Kanieki?
The Kanieki is one of the most scary tracks to walk. Just looking at what the drivers have to do. You know, I've walked all the tracks that I've judged on, I've walked through them, and walking through that track, that first corner is fast. The curbing is probably, 6 to 8 inches tall, and it's not a round curbing, it's very sharp curbing. You don't want to get a tire up on the curb too much. So that aspect alone makes it challenging. I've seen drivers go off on that first corner, at 130, 140, maybe even more kilometers per hour. Yeah, it's a very challenging track. As you come around the first corner, you can't really see much around that corner because of the trees that are on either side of the track. And then after the first corner, you go around the second corner after the transition. That one's also blind until you start getting through it as well. And it's fast. It makes for some amazing battles. And I think the camera angles that are achievable on that track are even great for the live stream viewers. So we were there last year for, I think it was a Drift Masters event.
Yeah.
And not last year, sorry, 2019. And we got to watch that level of driving on that track. And it was phenomenal. It was incredible battles, super close, really tight. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of during the FIA IDC as well.
Wow, we hope that it's gonna be, and we're gonna see these great battles, because anyway, last year in Russia we had a championship, but most of the world, they don't have nothing, maybe like one race or few races a year. So we are waiting, and we can't wait, looking forward for FIA IDC. That was a good question also in the comments. How many events did you judge, like, for your 11 years? Have you counted it, like, or you just like judging it and that's it?
That's an excellent question. Every year I do 9 Formula Drift events, generally 5 in Brazil. I try to do 5 in Russia, but it's usually about 3 or 4 that I make it to. And then I do 6 in Japan, and then other different series that I fit in, Peru or the Middle East. We did a couple in Italy last year. So it adds up over the year. A lot of travel, definitely on a plane, on an airplane, way too much. But you get to see a lot of the world and experience a lot of different cultures and see different driving, different cars, and meet so many great people all over the world. Yeah,
so I think it's more than 200 maybe, events.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, over the years since 2010. Yeah.
Approximately 300? No?
Yeah, well, if you figure it,
I'm
some
not
years
good at
are
math. I'm not
no,
good
me
at math at
neither.
all.
I don't know. Yeah, 300 maybe. Yeah, I'd have to sit down and calculate that one. I don't have a list of everyone I've judged, but I could probably get an approximation based on the different series and different years. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
as you are the most experienced judge in drifting, so you are the most experienced judge in airplane, going by airplane. So,
yeah.
my next question is not connecting to drift, but anyway, maybe it's going to be useful for other people. What do you usually do while you have your flights? Because usually you have long flights.
Yeah, so my trip to Japan is 13 hours one way.
Oh,
Yeah, and the key when going to Japan is not to sleep on the plane. Don't
really?
sleep. Yeah, because if you sleep on the plane, when you land, you're going to be all messed up. Because
Yeah.
so for me, when I leave Canada, I leave at 5 p.m. and I land in Japan the next day at 5 p.m. So if I had slept
It's like one day, yeah?
yeah, basically. So if I had slept on the plane all that time, when I land in Japan, I'm going to be wide awake, but it's
Yeah.
almost time for bed. So the key is to make yourself really, really tired by staying up on the plane the whole trip. And while I'm on the plane, I watch a lot of movies, I read books, I get up and walk around a lot because for 13 hours, you can't sit for 13 hours. It's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't sleep. That is the worst thing you can do on those long trips because you're never going to adapt to Japanese time, on something like that. But yeah, going to Russia, it was the same thing. Try not to sleep. That's why I always looked really tired when I got to the track.
Oh no,
Oh,
you're looking like normal, like you're looking like very vivid, so to say.
oh yeah, nice.
You do on your Instagram account, like profile, the compilation of different cars. I think it's your signature, to
Yes.
do the compilation of different cars from different events.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be nice if you gonna do like top 10 movies that you can watch in 13-hour flight, something like this. I think this is gonna be also very, very useful, like to make this kind of compilation, or how to go hiking on a plane, because hiking is your
Yeah. Well, hiking on a plane means walking from your seat to the bathroom and then back again, and that's it.
yeah. It's kind of also, I think,
Yeah.
when you're gonna write the book of judging, like after the finishing of your career, just
Yeah.
put these please in
I'll
your
put the tips.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be very, very helpful. So, how do you think, which way drifting is developing right now, and what will be in the future with drifting?
I think right now drifting is going towards a better live stream show. I think that is a big key to the future, mainly because of what we've seen in the last year and a half not year and a half, little over a year with COVID. People are, maybe going to be doing online viewing for a little while longer still. So the level of the live stream show has to be very strong to attract people to watch. And everybody's doing a phenomenal job with that now. I think Drift Masters is doing an amazing job with the help of Red Bull to put on a phenomenal live stream. RDS live stream is really, really good as well. You're seeing really good camera views that you can't get when you're there live, right? So sometimes watching on the live stream, you get some really interesting views from the drones and all the cameras on the ground.
Slow motion
Slow-mo.
also my
Yes, I know.
favorite.
RDS invests a lot of money in the slow motion cameras and it looks phenomenal. Yeah,
Stop
so
it.
that stuff is going to be very important in the future, I think. I mean, it already is important. People are watching on live stream a lot for every single event on the planet right now. And it has been that way for a little while. Even before COVID, live streaming was very, very big for a lot of different series. So I think making that even better, in-car cameras, maybe some speed readouts on the screen, things like that are going to make it more appealing to fans and are going to make it more involving for fans as well. So I think that's really important. And I think new cool venues are going to be important for the future of drifting as well. And you're seeing, like Formula One is now going to Miami to go on that street course around the stadium. And I think that's really cool. It's something that's new and it's different. And I think stuff like that's going to be important as well to keep people interested and to also get new fans from different areas maybe involved because they can come watch it live where they couldn't before.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, do you like Formula One?
I do watch Formula One. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. Have you watched yesterday?
I've watched, yeah.
So, what do you think about it?
So some interesting crashes, but that's what happens when the track is wet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically the first two cars are the only two cars that can see anything, and then everybody else is blind because of all that spray. But it was an interesting race. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting race. Okay, so let's go back to drifting and a few more questions, and we're gonna say to you, like, have a nice day, because it's daytime in Canada. So, yeah,
it is. Yeah.
According to Russia, in Russia, it's almost like midnight soon. So we have been announcing entries like little by little, giving for our fans small pieces of information, like all around the world. So, what do you think? What the intrigue is gonna be in FIA IDC?
We're already seeing some world-class drivers, some very, very talented and skilled drivers, some drivers with some great financial backing from their sponsors. So we know that we're going to have a phenomenal group of drivers that are already proving to be very international. We've got drivers from Japan, drivers from, I guess, Ireland and the Middle East and different parts of Asia already involved, and I think maybe South America as well, right? Brazil. So we're already seeing a very international lineup of drivers, and as you said, you're slowly trickling them out, so more and more are going to be starting to be announced, which is great. And FIA has a great support system, I would say, for things like Formula One and WRC and different series that they manage, where they're able to bring drivers from all over the world to one place to compete, because they do have such a strong name, strong backing, and really good support system and really good organizational system that people know they can trust, not only the fans but also the drivers and the teams. So the FIA is in a unique position for that, in that they're able to put together a very high quality event like this, and also like the motorsports games that are going to be happening in France in October as well. So, bringing all these different disciplines together, something like the motorsports games, you're introducing drifting to people who may have never seen it in person before. And that's another great aspect of having the FIA involved in the sport.
Will you go to motorsport games?
That's the plan right now. As long as I can travel, absolutely I will. Yeah.
Do you have now something like strict rules and you cannot go out from Canada?
I'm allowed to leave Canada, but coming back is a very big problem. And sometimes you can't. Yeah.
Coming back? Really?
It's such a pain to get back into the country. It's very difficult. Long quarantine, expensive quarantine, because you have to go to a government approved hotel for 3 nights when you land to get a result for your COVID test. And that's $2,000 right there. So it adds a lot of money and time to your travel. But I think the hard part right now is for me to get into other countries. Europe is still really shut down. So the hope is that it's going to open up a little bit more before the event in Riga, so that we can get into Latvia. And then again, of course, in France as well in October.
Okay. Do you miss Russia?
Yes, of course I miss Russia. I was the most sad about missing out on Russia last year because of St. Petersburg, which was supposed to be part of the series, which would have been an amazing trip to see that city, and the other cities in Russia, of course, that I haven't been to yet, like Sochi and maybe Krasnoyarsk. I don't know where else you guys are going. Yeah. So
I hope that you're gonna have a chance anyway to come back to Russia again and to be a judge of RDS GP. But I want to thank you and to tell you that we are very grateful that you started the first person who opened this FIA IDC live streaming, and I hope that it's gonna be more and more and more and more viewers. And thank you so much, Ryan, for the nice conversation. That was a pleasure for me and for all our fans to talk to you and to listen to your answers. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon in
Thank you,
June in
Alicia.
Riga.
Yes, absolutely. Let me know if you want to do this again sometime.
Okay, okay. So
All right.
thank you so much and have a nice day. Bye-bye. Say
You
hello to
too.
your beautiful wife and congratulations
Oh,
from
thank you,
all
Alicia.
of the Russian fans. Okay.
Thank you. Спасибо.
But thank you so much. Bye-bye. So
Ciao.
guys, ciao, ciao. Guys, I can tell you that that was our first, so to say, test live. And if you like it, just leave some feedback back at the comments. We're gonna listen to it, we're gonna write it down, and I think that everything was fine. Спасибо всем русским комментаторам, ребята. Вы, как всегда, на высоте. Веселите меня весь эфир. Спасибо тем, кто досмотрел до конца. Мы с вами скоро совсем уже увидимся. Ну а пока, thank you so much, и всем доброй ночи, кто из России. Boa noite, Portuguese or our Brazilian friends, and ciao ciao. Thank you everyone. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye bye.